are so many interesting, horrifying, or downright weird things in this big world of ours.
Each week, we'll bring you a new true crime story that has little to no coverage in English.
Let us do the translations, so you don't have to.
Hi, I'm Petra.
We never say hi. I'm Victoria.
And I'm Laura, and we're laughing because we're using a new handy dandy recording
Which made
program.
us re-listen to our intro.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I don't know if I like the way I said those sentences.
Well, we can always do another one now that we've listened to it. We'll have to listen to this every single time from now on.
This makes us more aware of
Yes. Shittiness. Okay.
room for improvement, I
Yes,
wanted to
of
say.
course, of course. Well, we're not getting paid for this anyways. Yeah, so of course, with that order means that I am going this week. And I hinted that there was going to be a Swedish case this week and had to do with some, well, manifesto stuff, but I kind of changed it a little bit since last time because I was intending to do one case. But then I found that this case that I'm going to do this week was kind of the inspiration for the guy that I'll do next time. So there's been like kind of, well, you know, like this Anders Breivik from Norway.
Yes.
So he like took inspiration from these other two dudes. So he kind of mentioned one of them, but then since there's two, I was kind of uncertain which one it was. Anyway, so, but it's still kind of the same shit, you know, people feeling disenfranchised and then acting out about that, and then, you know, yeah, killing people, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fun.
So let's get started. The year is 1991 and the month is August. A 21-year-old immigrant from Eritrea, David Gebremeryem, is with friends. And like pretty soon his friends notice that there is a red laser dot that appears on his back. And before this, you know, this happens or whatever, then right after this, there's a sound of a gun heard. And then David is shot.
So it's a movie scene.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. So as David does survive this gunshot, but this is the start of a wide panic for people and for someone, like a search for a guy who is labeled as the Laserman or the Lasermannen in Swedish. And he targets immigrants around Uppsala and Stockholm.
Oh, it's that kind of a guy. Great.
Yes. Kind of, what is it? The, like, Son of Sam, like kind of this type of vibe where like people are kind of, or the DC shooter, that's what I mean, like the DC shooters, that kind of reminds me of this, where there was like this guy or two guys even that were kind of going around the DC area and shooting people, and like you don't know, like of course, you know, people from the outside are kind of just wary, like, okay, you know, walking in public and stuff, because it could be anybody, you know, that you see on the streets, and then you just hear a gunshot and then you're dead or injured or whatever. So
and they're like doing basically an assassination.
Yes. From
that they
far
don't
away.
get
Yes.
caught.
Yes, exactly. So it's even more scary because, yeah, you don't see the person. It's not like point blank that other witnesses are around or, you know, that type of thing. So yes.
Makes me think if it's easy to get a gun in Sweden, or it used to be.
I don't know. I'm not.
I would assume that it isn't.
Yeah, I would assume not. Like, I think probably for hunting reasons and stuff, it's easy. Like, you have to be part of these, at least in Finland, you have to be part of a hunting club or like a gun club in order to get a license for a gun, as far as I understood.
I think it's the same for Sweden.
So, yeah.
But like nowadays, when you hear the news about the gang violence and stuff, I think it's mostly just illegal weapons.
Yeah. So most of my notes are coming from the Bakom Laserriktet, which means behind the laser sight, and Lasermannen en berättelse om Sverige, which means Laserman, a story about Sweden. And that was horrible pronunciation, so I'm sorry. Yeah, so we're going back to the start of the man's life that would eventually be known as the Laserman or Lasermannen. On the 12th of July 1953, Wolfgang Alexander John Zaug was born, later known as John Ausonius. So if you wanted to search for this person, his name is John Ausonius. He ends up renaming himself multiple times. So for the beginning of his life, I'll call him Wolfgang or Wolfgang or Wolfgang. I don't know which one I'll do. Probably both. But yeah, so I'll just refer to him as Wolfgang at the very beginning, and then we'll change it. But we're talking about John Ausonius in this whole thing. He is the Laserman. So
Okay.
So he grew up in Stockholm in the suburbs of Vällingby, and he has a German mother, a Swiss father, and he also has a younger brother. So Wolfgang's family had been struggling financially for quite some time. And along with his father's numerous infidelities and lack of finances, this kind of caused his parents to divorce when Wolfgang was 7 years old. During this time, Wolfgang's mother raised her sons as a single parent, and Wolfgang had to, quote unquote, become the man of the house at an early age, for example. And even before he was 10 years old, he had to cook, wash dishes, and clean. But I'm like, okay, that sounds kind of like a normal thing to do. Like even before 10, I'm like, yeah, I had to clean and stuff and cook and, like, I don't know how young, like, obviously between 7 and 10. So I feel like that's kind of a period of time where that's a normal thing to learn to do. And like,
But maybe that's the thing. Like if you, in some families, kids are required to do excess amount of home stuff. And then if it starts to, like, that you can't go out playing with your friends because you have to do this and that and this, and you always have to be time for the dinner to prepare it for your younger siblings or something, then it becomes a burden.
Yeah.
Of course, not an excuse to become a murderer, but
but like if you're trying to find a context that he had a hard childhood or something, yet it doesn't sound too bad.
No, and blanket statement at the very beginning. I'm not like, of course, there's other podcasts who are like, don't blame the child, but blame the adult and that type of stuff. I'm like making a very generalized outline of how or why he probably had the motive that he did, but I'm not excusing any of his behavior later on because, of course, why would I fucking do that? That's kind of a no-brainer.
Sure.
But yeah. So another thing, his mother would often throw small parties, of course, with alcohol, and men would often spend the night. So kind of this revolving door of men that he'd be like, oh, who's this guy waking up, in our apartment or something, which is also very unfortunate and not very good for, I guess, child psychology, especially as a young male and child, and not a very good example. This unstable home life meant that Wolfgang would often escape to the next door neighbor. And the neighbor described young Wolfgang as the neatest, spunkiest, most caring and kindest boy he had ever met, where he liked his polite and calm manner. So it's just a pity that like this, spunky, nice kid that had such a good manner and, was probably cute and stuff, like, just ended up the way he did. So kind of unfortunate.
I'm wondering if you're gonna start telling things like, but in the background, he actually had some anger management issues, and then he started torturing animals.
No,
or something like that.
No, actually, no. It's just kind of unfortunate, actually, this case. Like, to be honest, like, it could have been stopped if,
But I mean, yet I'm not hearing anything super extreme. Like, I know lots of, like, people with background that they had a single parent, and of course the single parents wants to date.
Yes,
they might
exactly.
have like partners that change, and that's it. I don't think that itself is like a big harming factor for a child. It's more.
But I think it depends on how it's done.
Yeah, exactly. But I think like in this aspect, he needed to like quote unquote escape because there was just like these parties. So
it sounds that the parties were maybe like that. There was some room for taking the child's needs into consideration better.
Yes, yes, I agree with that. So, as a child, Wolfgang experienced for the first time, according to his memory, racism and discrimination because of his distinctive appearance. So he had jet black hair and brown eyes, and this differed from predominantly the blonde hair and blue eyes, or like the light eyes of like Swedish children. So he felt that he was discriminated against because of his looks. And often playing in the yard next to the apartment, he was ostracized by the other children while they were singing. They would sing like, "The black man is not allowed, the black man is not allowed." So they'd be calling him and like singling him out and saying, "Okay, you're not allowed to play with us because you look different than us."
This was in the 60s, right?
Yes.
I guess 50s,
Yeah,
60s.
he was born in 53, so probably early 60s, yeah. So yeah,
Yeah,
immigration probably wasn't that big of a deal in Sweden at this point. So yeah, so playing kind of sucked for him, and in turn, of course, Wolfgang would react with violence towards these children because they would be teasing him and like he'd react. He's a young kid. And then he would usually be blamed for this whole incident by the parents of the children. And if there would be a fight that it would erupt, he'd get in trouble and the other children wouldn't get in trouble. So it just kind of showed him that, okay, I am indeed on the outside and this sucks. So just because I look different. Another incident that caused him to feel singled out was when he went to the Kungsholm public school and he was pushed by an older student who would say, "Get out of the way, you fucking N-word." So called him the N-word, which I'm not going to say.
This guy is a white.
Yes, exactly. He's like German and Swiss German, from what I understand, like
That's
heritage.
Like literally the closest ethnicity you can be to Scandinavians.
Yes, especially Swedish with the language and everything, and yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, nowadays you would just be like, okay, you're not different.
Yeah. So, but after this, he actually made friends at this school, so it wasn't like all for naught. Like he wasn't such a loner, quote unquote, but he did have these kind of formative experiences with people or children or peers that caused him to really look at himself and others and see the differences, these like minute differences that shouldn't really matter if you're a kid, but to him it did because it meant that he was bullied or singled out. In 1965, so he would have been 12 at this time, his mother decided that him and his brother needed, quote unquote, German education, of which she meant that they needed more strict schooling and harsh disciplinary consequences when they disobeyed. So I'm guessing some beatings or something. Yeah. And he felt immediately at home there at the school because he found that he wasn't the only one with black hair and he felt like he fit in. So it actually was maybe a bit, even though the reasons that his mother sent him to this place was a bit shitty, it turned out for the better that he actually fit in. He wasn't the only one that had.
But where was
looks.
the school?
It was in Stockholm still. And yeah. Just like one of these German schools, like that they have like French school or German school, language schools in Finland as well.
Yeah, they have that here too, yeah.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like just this, as a note, when there was lots of Finnish immigrants moving around that era to Sweden, and you've read a lot of stories how they were discriminated and harassed. So I don't think it's really the looks, like that you look ethnically different, but just that you are from the outside kind of factor there.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, because I mean, a lot of people, if you lined up Finns and Swedes, you have them all dressed in the same way, you probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference between, many of them.
Yeah.
I mean, there are some distinctive Finnish features, I think, but generally speaking, I don't think you'd be able to tell.
Yeah, it's quite a guessing game.
Yeah. There's been lots of inbreedings between the Swedes and the Finns anyway, so yeah. So in this German school, he made a couple of close friends, and one of the friends' fathers became a huge inspiration to him. So this father was an inventor, a mechanical genius, and a technician, and he was a self-taught philosopher. And this person had not relied on formal education to get these qualifications or this learning. So he kind of was like a self-taught dude, basically, that was just interested in all these things. Wolfgang was inspired by him so much that he even started to dress in a sober manner, and I'm guessing to kind of emulate this father. So he dressed in a sober manner, rejecting everything that was considered lustful. So he was kind of like, just, I am a staunchly philosophical, engineering type of dude, like no spice or flavor to this. I'm just fucking vanilla, straight through, you know. And for instance, he would dress himself in white shirts with minimal collars, and he would be sure to have well-combed hair at all times. And most importantly, he thought it was his dream to become an engineer and study at the Royal Institute of Technology. So that's his kind of very, very early upbringing, at least.
I mean, sounds okay this far.
Yeah, like
I mean,
sounds like not super great, but yeah, like not too bad.
I mean, you find a adult character in your life, you want to be cool like them, and the coolness is to be an engineer. So I don't think this is yet too bad.
Yes,
like he doesn't want to be a drug gang leader or anything. Like the kids nowadays.
Yeah. But instead of pursuing a traditional educational background, he dropped out of high school. And I guess some notes were, or like some sources were saying that one of his friends kind of talked him into quitting high school, which I don't know. How do you talk into? Yeah, it was a bit like, how can you be taught or like talked into something by somebody else to quit school? That seems a bit.
I mean, I guess like if there's an option, like let's do this instead.
Yeah, like could have gone to a technical school or something instead of high school, or you know,
or let's start selling drugs instead, or I don't know. What a friend could talk you into.
Yes, true.
As a high schooler.
Yeah. So shortly before he turned 20, his family noticed a drastic change in him. He swore, he slammed doors, and was generally just an ornery dude. Yeah, I know, like 20. So it just sounds to me like he hit his teenage years, you know, the teenage angsty years at 20 instead of, you know, the 13 or something. But okay, moving on. So he was working in a kitchen as a dishwasher, I think it was. And he absolutely hated this work. So he hated this like
shouldn't
manual
have quit
labor.
the high school.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. Exactly. So in 1975, so this would have been 2 years later, he decided to go back to Komvux, which is the municipal education, like adult education. I'm guessing kind of like a ammattikorkeakoulu kind of thing in Finland. And it's for adults who lack an education from compulsory or upper secondary school. So his personality did continue to change during this time, and maybe it was made worse that he didn't understand women. He kind of overly romanticized women, and he didn't really have he didn't know how to handle the strong emotions that went along with love or being intimate with a woman or whatever.
So are we all thinking the same thing? Yes.
Yeah. So he, as far as I understood, like by the translations, he kind of stalked a girl, and this ended up with a police report. Yes, and he ended up with a police report from this. And his friends described him as having very polarized views of which he would categorize people and things, either like good versus bad, black versus white, tall versus short, you know, like very, very polar views of things. And we'll also get into this a bit later about his diagnoses and stuff, and like the current climate of today's political bullshit going on and other people who are like him. Anyway, yeah, we'll get into that later. So additionally, Wolfgang found it difficult to seek help and talk about his problems and feelings. So he suffered from headaches, which caused him loneliness, and he feared like there was a brain injury or tumor or possible like, you know, these personality changes that were happening along with this like extreme pain, this headaches and stuff. And he didn't want to be a burden on society, and he was used to being like fending for himself, which goes back to, you know, being the young child and cooking and cleaning and doing all that stuff as a young kid. But eventually he did seek help from a doctor and psychiatrist in 1977. And the psychiatrist reported that he could be exhibiting signs of borderline psychosis and recommended regular visits, which Wolfgang thought, okay, that sounds like a pretty decent and, good idea. But he never visited again. So, yeah, it was a good idea. But that was where it ended.
But I guess isn't like one of the things in psychosis that you don't have the feeling of sickness, like you're not suspecting that you are ill. So maybe if he went to full-blown psychosis, then he stopped thinking it's a good idea to go to the
Yeah, and I think with
doctor.
any of these things, like having to come back to, like it was initially hard to get help, and then it's kind of even more difficult to come back and do it again and again and again.
Yeah.
So, at least speaking from personal experience, like, yeah, I don't think.
I was just trying to find in the background whether borderline psychosis, like, is that a different thing from borderline personality disorder, or that was the like older term?
I think eventually he does get diagnosed with borderline personality, if I remember correctly. So yeah, but yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Would explain the kind of polarized
Mm.
views. And
And there's
I
other
think
stuff
in,
too, but yeah.
yeah, and also in borderline, don't they say that it's kind of like not that you have real psychosis, but it's on the border of psychosis.
Yes, I think so. Yes. Hence the name
So
borderline. Yeah.
some things happen to you, and then you kind of ruminate on it, and then kind of build up a different story in your head, and end up believing that something different happened. So kind of transforming reality a little bit.
Yeah. Which would make sense of why he, like, also thinking about his childhood. Was it really that bad? Were the kids really that bad? Or was he just, you know, magnifying everything in his head and making it worse than it actually was? But who knows? So, yeah. Yeah. So he slowly began to become more confrontational, and his friend group shrank, and he liked arguing with others instead of debating. And he became more of a rigid, like, person in his views, and he was unable to see things from another person's perspective. So this is great, talking about not being able to see another person's perspective and what he eventually does, that kind of goes hand in hand about why he targeted immigrants and thinking that they're no good and, whatever. He eventually had a reunion with that neighbor that he had sought refuge with as a child. And this meeting, he described his discontent from being different, like just described his general discontent with society and stuff as like he just was different. And that's the reason why he felt so out of place and just not fitting in. And he didn't want to be German anymore, but he wanted to be Swedish. So he decided to set out on that path that would allow him to do just that. So in the summer of 1978, Wolfgang Alexander Zaug changed his name to John Stonnerman. For John Stonnerman, the year 1980 was the most difficult period in his life, and during this time he basically lived on the streets, and it was not long before he was involuntarily hospitalized due to problems such as insomnia and headaches. In 1980, he committed his first criminal act in the form of fraud and crime, and did this crime in order to obtain money. He also had many assault offenses, so he was kind of a violent guy. And during this time, he did manage to start studying at the Royal Institute of Technology, which should have been a relief for him, but he continued to be a bother because he had issues with his housing. So John, or Wolfgang, or whatever, was then hospitalized and continued medication for mental illness. But during this time, he was also drafted into the military, and there he learned to use weapons and guns and that type of thing. But he spoke openly about his hatred of social democracy and was described by his peers as by his fellow soldiers as half crazy, presumably violent, and had fascist tendencies. So
So I guess they didn't do like a psych eval or something before
Yeah,
making
yeah,
him join the military.
yeah, yeah.
So military was still compulsory for Sweden back
I guess
then?
so. Yeah, for
Because
him
now
to
I
become
don't
a
think it
citizen,
is.
he wanted to become. So I think he had to do the military service. So yeah,
Oh yeah, that's why he hadn't had it before, or
yeah,
he
yeah. Because
wasn't a
he
citizen
was
at all.
no. He just grew up in Stockholm, but then his parents were not Swedish. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
but in the 80s, he committed numerous assaults, thefts, and the like, and where he kind of oscillated between committing crime, getting arrested, fleeing, and then he was eventually sentenced to 14 months in prison. So, kind of, this should have been a wake up call, but it wasn't. And then he changed his name to John Ausonius. So, this is the final name change. And after he got out of prison, he wanted to turn his life around. He wanted to, get married or find a woman first, get married, and, have the whole white picket fence situation or like the Swedish equivalent of that. And he kept thinking back on his time in prison and the way people treated him in general. And he thought it was all due to his dark hair and eyes. And due to these characteristics, he was being treated like an illegal immigrant. And because
Not
of
that he
this,
hated social democracy, which is basically the core of
of
Swedish society.
yes, exactly, yes, he would, due to this like outward characteristics, he would even start to dye his hair and dye his hair blonde, which ended up being kind of an orangish color, I guess, because he did it wrong. And then he would also wear colored contact lenses. So yeah, he was trying to fit in.
I kind of feel really, really
That's
sad
what I mean.
about
You kind
the
of feel
like.
bad for him, but then it's like, why the fuck did he do all this other shit? So yeah, yeah,
Well, because he was mentally ill.
yeah, true. So John Ausonius's hatred of immigrants was something that kind of festered and grew day by day. He believed that many in Sweden had these same views on immigrants. They were just, maybe not saying it outwardly, but a lot of Swedes totally hated immigrants too. And using the way he was treated or assumedly treated growing up, his views of others treating or talking about immigrants in a negative manner kind of influenced this idea that other Swedes were hating immigrants too. And I mean, sure, like maybe there was some people who hated immigrants, but generally nowadays there's quite a lot of immigrants in Sweden and Finland, so it'd be kind of difficult to hate immigrants, I think. But yeah. And he basically thought that if an immigrant wasn't a criminal, then they instead took advantage of the system. So it was kind of this they're bad all around. They're either worse or they're either bad or worse, basically.
So was his logic that immigrants are bad, so they deserve to be hated, but because of this hatred, he is also hated, even though he is not bad, even
Yes.
though he was in prison for violent
Committing
crimes.
crimes, yes. And doing, yeah, yes. That's basically, yes, the gist of it. Which I kind of wanted to get into, and this is one of the reasons why I covered this, is because the hypocrisy of this fucking person's point of view and his rationale, it's just so fucking bullshit. And it's just so, yeah, hypocritical. And that's what we see a lot today in today's political arena, especially in the States right now. Like, there's always these situations. Like, I was watching this documentary about was it the Aryan Brotherhood in the States, and it's like, oh yeah, they hate they hate all black people and Hispanics and all this stuff, but then they'll do deals with them because money is what matters in the end. So it's like you hate them, but you don't mind making money with them, or doing drug deals with them or something. So it's kind of like this.
I think there are always people with these kind of distorted thinking patterns. The bigger issues start when kind of the system accepts it and lifts it up and
Yes,
normalizes it.
yes.
I mean, it's also a problem when it's just a few people, like extreme cases, like here, what you're talking about today. It's going to be a huge problem.
Yes.
Yeah, if you
But
start taking people's lives,
yeah,
of course.
Yes. So basically, he thought the same way as Nazis, but in his mind, what the true sentiments of Swedes and politicians were was indeed what he was thinking. So this kind of everyone's thinking the same thing that I am. They're just too afraid to say it out loud or act upon it, whatever. So it was not enough to hurt these immigrants, but he needed to take it one step further, and he needed to kill them. That was his motivation. So
did he like these violent, like the assaults he had been in prison for? Were they against immigrants too, or
that's a good question.
Is it stated anywhere?
Like, he committed bank robberies as well.
Okay,
and so I'm thinking that maybe during those he was possibly violent as well. And but there is one case where he does indeed like end up. Well, we'll get into who he kills later on. And I don't know if I would count that as one of the instances. He didn't get caught for it in Sweden, at least, but yeah, I think he tended to have some violence. Like, either someone did something to him and he would just go off the handle and have assault somebody, basically. So yeah.
Okay, but he didn't like have a career of assaulting immigrant-looking people around.
I don't think so.
Prior to this,
I don't think so. Maybe if there was an excuse or something, maybe if they did something or said something to him and then it just so happened to be an immigrant, then maybe he flew off the handle a bit easier. I'm just assuming this, but yeah.
Yeah, but he was pretty vocal about his views otherwise.
Yes. I guess probably that's why many people didn't want to be his friend after a bit. So slowly but surely, anti-immigrant sentiment had grown into an unreasoning, all-encompassing hatred of immigrants. So it just wasn't, like I said, took it one step further. And shortly after the night of August 3rd, 1991, John Wolfgang Alexander Ausonius, or whatever you want to say, his name is John Ausonius, John whatever, Stenman or something. He tucked a sawed-off shotgun with a laser sight under his coat and carried out his first attack. So now we're going back to where it started from. So on the 3rd of August, 1991, Ausonius shot David Gebremeriem, a 21-year-old immigrant from Eritrea, and he was shot in the back, but he survived. The 21st of October, 1991, Shahram Khosravi, a 25-year-old student from Iran, or from Iranian origin, was shot in the face outside of Stockholm University. Khosravi survived the attack. On the 27th of October, 1991, Dimitrios Karamallegos, okay, I'm going to butcher a lot of these names, but yeah. So a homeless man of Greek origin was shot twice in the stomach. Although wounded, he survived. Karamallegos reported seeing a bright red light prior to hearing the shots. The 1st of November, 1991, during the middle of the day, Ausonius entered a restaurant kitchen in Stockholm and shot Heberson Vieira da Costa, a musician from Brazil. Da Costa was shot once in the head and several times in the stomach. Despite these injuries, though, Da Costa survived.
Oh, wow. They are surviving a lot.
Yeah, we'll get into that too. Da Costa reported that to the police that he saw a red light before he was shot, and he was able to give a pretty accurate description of Ausonius because he was, quite close, I guess, to him. Then 7 days later, in 1991, Ausonius mortally wounded Jimmy Ranjbar, another Iranian student who died the following day. So he has his first victim of death, or he killed his first person. Then, throughout this, Ausonius took a trip to the United States, and this was between the first and second wave of shootings, and he decided he wanted to visit Las Vegas, do some gambling, do some sightseeing, go to the Grand Canyon. He then returned to Sweden because he wanted to be,
Can I just say, what the fuck, Swedish police? Why hasn't he been caught yet?
Yes. And I
How
just
did he have the money for this trip?
Well, he did rob a lot of banks, and at some point I read that sometimes he was really good with finances. Like he actually got a job with finances, and he had a lot of money at one point. He had a lot of like actual extra cash, and he had a good job at one point. But then he carried out these things, and he was, I guess, I don't know, fell deeper into his psychosis or something. So, yeah, probably lots of money from the bank robberies or crimes. So, yeah. But then he returned to Sweden after this, and then in January, so the 22nd of January, 1992, in Uppsala, Ausonius then approached a couple who were at a cafe outside the Linnaeus Garden, and he shot Eric Bongkam Rudloff, a PhD student in medical sciences, and he shot him in the head. But Bongkam Rudloff survived, and which is an interesting fact that he is now a scientist representing Sweden in several international scientific networks. So he actually went on to do good stuff with his brain that was shot. So that's good. So then the next day, so he's kind of going a bit crazy here, speeding things up. He returned to Stockholm. Then he shot Charles Dhlakama, a bus driver originally from Zimbabwe, in the middle of the day. And he was shot in the chest, but luckily Dhlakama survived. And then the same day, so this is the 3 attacks in one day, Ausonius entered a Somali club and he shot 2 men, both of whom survived. And I don't have any information on these 2 men's names, so just have to take it for that. 5 days later, on January 28th, Ausonius shot Isa Aibar, an immigrant of Assyrian origin, 4 times in the head and arm. Aibar was seriously wounded, but managed to call the police, and they survived. Then 2 days later...
Okay, why is this guy still free? Like, is there a police force in this country?
Yeah.
Is this worse than Finland? Oh, okay, sorry, cut this out.
No, I will not.
I actually do have some like bad image of the Swedish police even nowadays, like that they are not very efficient. But this might be my colored, how Finnish media represents them.
Could be that.
Yeah. But anyway, this is the 90s.
I think there are issues with police everywhere, and then I don't know.
Yeah, but I think like there has been this more of deep dive articles about how the Swedish police couldn't catch the first gang violence cases, and that's why it kind of has
escalated.
But sounds like they weren't really good.
Yeah. Well.
Sounds like a case that someone should cover on this podcast.
Yeah, hint. Yeah. So 2 days later in Hägerstensåsen, I guess I didn't check where that was at. I'm guessing Stockholm or Uppsala. Anyway, Ausonius then shot Hassan Zatara, and this Hassan was a Palestinian store owner. He was shot in the head. He was paralyzed, but he was not killed. And apparently Zatara's son is Imad Zatara, and he is a footballer. So also kind of a interesting, fun fact, I guess. So you were probably asking yourself, why the fuck did he shoot so many people, but only one of them died, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Especially multiple shots in the head and whatever. And he was with a shotgun with a sight. Okay. Sawed-off shotgun with a sight. So you'd think that, okay, at least some more people, gladly more people weren't killed. There was only the one victim that was killed and one was paralyzed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but usually my image is that shooting people is more fatal.
Yes. Especially,
is he such bad of a shooter, or?
Well, you remembered that he was in the military and he learned how to shoot a gun properly.
Yeah.
So,
or
this is an air gun.
No, this was a sawed-off shotgun with a laser sight on it.
Okay.
Which kind of
Or
defeats the purpose, in my opinion. Like, why have a laser sight on a shotgun that's sawed off? Because you need to be quite close anyway, so you don't need the fucking laser sight. But that's just me. Maybe I don't understand guns properly, but you know.
Maybe it's because he wanted to be called the Laserman.
Lasermannen. Yeah. Fuck you know. Okay, so yeah, these modifications that he made to the weapon were done poorly and or just inaccurately or whatever. I mean, he probably was thinking, I know my shit, I'll make this modification, but he apparently didn't. And due to this, he failed in killing most of his victims. And supposedly the modifications kind of deviated the bullet's trajectory, and this consequently caused him to miss his victims. So like he was aiming for something else, but they kind of strayed off, and he didn't end up delivering fatal blows in the end.
And this did not become suspicious to him after, I don't know, the fifth person.
Yeah, no, I guess not. He was just like, fuck, maybe he just didn't think about it. Maybe he remembered it differently.
Yeah, I feel that this guy is in a psychosis. Like,
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, who knows?
It's just very odd, even for a murderer.
Yeah. Okay, so next, the police actually started to do something, and they started the second biggest manhunt, second in size, only to the hunt for Olof Palme's killer. And Petra is nodding her head, but Victoria looks puzzled. So,
thank you for the accurate descriptions.
So basically, if you are raised in Finland, you will know Olof Palme's murder. He was the
former prime minister, yes, of Sweden. Yes.
So it's if a major politician gets murdered in your neighboring country, it's
you kind of know it's a big deal. Yeah, exactly. So former prime minister gets killed, so this manhunt is only second to the one for Olof Palme's killer. So stupidly, well, I always think this like stupidly, haha, these fucking stupid people, but it's a good thing that they're stupid. So on the 12th of June, so remember that the last shooting was the 30th of January. So I guess he was probably hurting for some money after his, stint and his vacation in the States. I don't know. I'm just assuming. On the 12th of June, 1992, during a bank robbery, Ausonius was arrested. So it wasn't even because, like, the police were doing their job correctly.
I'm feeling very irritated of this whole case. Like, this guy goes killing people or like attempting to kill people.
Over 5 months, he was free.
What?
But how?
Yeah.
It's not like he could have been hiding so well, because he had to be pretty close.
I mean, technically, by his standards, then he would have been easily found out because his dark hair and dark eyes, right? Sorry. Victoria would have definitely been that type of person to be standing out to in society, you with their dark hair and dark eyes. Oh no, Victoria. Do you feel ostracized in Finland?
No. But maybe in the 60s I would have.
Yeah, but I think Finland probably has more dark-haired people than Sweden. Like like from Lapland.
Yeah.
And so on. So there's different gene pool here.
Yeah.
With hair color or everything. So Victoria, you're fine.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
We have like a nice spectrum. Like Petra's light, I'm middle, and then Victoria's like dark and dark. That's like a nice spectrum.
I have some gray hairs, actually.
Oh, me too. Count? Oh, me too. Ooh, silver hairs.
Yeah,
it's kind of hidden.
Okay, shit. So yeah, Ausonius was arrested on the 12th of June. He was convicted of murder and robbery, but could not be linked to all the shootings. Although he confessed to all of them in 2000, he just, the cops maybe didn't do their job, or I don't know, whatever.
Could that be a possibility?
I'm just thinking possibly.
I'm sure they did everything.
Yeah, we're hating on the Swedish police, but we maybe shouldn't. I don't know. Maybe this will come back and bite us in the ass if we visit Sweden. Oh yeah.
But okay, this is the police of the 90s. I'm sure that the current police is
They're great.
Yes, they're
better.
wonderful.
Great. We love them.
Yes, fantastic. Okay, so he was sentenced to life imprisonment and was incarcerated at the Kumla prison. And in June 2012, he was transferred to the Österåker prison. And Ausonius had applied to have his life sentence commuted to an arranged term on like three different occasions. So in 2008, 2010, and then 2012. And the court rejected his applications on all occasions. And then on the 2nd of November 2012, his third appeal was rejected by the Örebro District Court. And on all three occasions, the National Board of Forensic Medicine determined that there was a risk that Ausonius would reoffend due to his autism and personality disorder, which the court took into consideration when making his decision. So, it's interesting, isn't it? The parallels of today of people blaming autism and racism and Nazism as a thing, right? In the news, right? Yeah.
It comes up.
Yeah, just a little bit. Okay, yeah. I'm referring to Elon Musk and him, being autistic, and then people basically scapegoating that into thinking that, okay, well, he was doing the Roman salute, not the Nazi salute, or he was throwing his heart to people in the crowd, not the fucking Nazi salute. That type of shit.
Yeah.
I mean, Elon Musk might be autist, who knows, but it just doesn't, like, what does it change?
Exactly.
Having autism doesn't mean that you can't have moral.
Yes.
Like he is not, the reason why he is an asshole
is because he's a fucking asshole.
It's not because he's also, by the way, autistic.
No, there's plenty of
have nothing to do with each other.
There's plenty of lovely autistic people. I don't know if you've ever watched Autism on the Spectrum or like Love on the Spectrum. That show's great. There's so many lovely people on that show that I'm like, I'd be friends with a lot of these guys, just because they're fucking lovely people.
Often it's much easier to hang out with people with autism because they don't have this irritating social norm, small talk bullshit, but things get done, things get said.
Yes, it's refreshing. Yes.
But anyway, but it's weird narrative in media that it would be a reason for being a horrible person. I mean, Elon Musk.
Yeah,
and also this case now that it's a good well connected there. Like I don't think being autistic is any kind of defense for murdering, but I guess like I don't know, like the context that he has issues with social connecting with people and then also a mental disorder. It does affect how his life has been this far and how it would be from this
because I'm just wondering, indeed, like were people singling him out because of his looks, or was it indeed his like social,
because he was a weirdo,
social skills, a bit of a weirdo or something, or not picking up on social cues, because of course that is due to autism, like not picking up on social cues, or acting like a quote unquote typical child or something, or someone who is high functioning autistic or something, whatever. But so I think
this is like very complex. It's probably impossible to detangle what caused what.
But
especially
I just found this
the era is also so different, was also so different when he was a kid.
Like I could have gone into a lot of the historical stuff, like what was happening in Sweden also during this time, and like but okay, I'm not going to spend 2 hours or make this into like a 3-part podcast on this guy. But I just thought it was also why, like I said at the top of this episode, I wanted to cover this type of topic, because in the news there's all these quote unquote racist people that are feeling disenfranchised, and this was one of the first quote unquote lone wolf terrorists that people have attributed to, like I said, there's been other ones after that, like this Breivik was also a lone wolf terrorist. But I feel like there's going to be more and more of these because, they take example from earlier cases like this guy and Breivik, and then also there's just more strife and feelings of difference and etc. in the world. And maybe if it's not just one person doing it, but then you can also easily find other people who have the same views.
Exactly. That's what I wanted to add to this. That I don't know if this means that there would be more and more of these lone wolf type terrorists, because a lot of these views are getting amplified and normalized a lot more nowadays. So maybe that would actually lead to people being more openly doing stuff like this, or forming groups that do violent crimes against whoever they pick.
Yeah, and I mean, I think people are testing the waters, especially going back to the Elon Musk thing, testing the waters between what can I get away with? Can I do this historically, racist or salute or whatever, and get away with it? Yes, I can, apparently. And no one's canceling him or whatever.
Yeah, but this is how it goes. It's always like one little step more.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm just feeling like I wanted to cover this type of stuff, and that's what I'll cover next time, is the next guy, the Lasermannen 2, because there's another one of these guys.
Great.
Yeah, who took inspiration from this guy, and then Breivik took inspiration from Lasermannen 1 and Lasermannen 2, so it's kind of...
Okay.
Yeah. So anyway, that was the reason why I wanted to cover this, but going back to the case, I have a little tiny bit more, like maybe a page more. So another attack, murder that put him in the news kind of recently was he was on the run, from the attacks in Sweden, and he was in Germany. So I'm guessing during this time, this 5 months that he was after January, he was actually in Germany. So we can't really blame the Swedish police in that case.
Okay, fine.
Okay, yeah.
You have this one. He got into an altercation with a 68-year-old woman named Blanka Zmigrod. And I'm guessing, Zmigrod, Zmigrod. And he blamed her of stealing his electronic notebook, kind of one of these bank code notebook thingies that you, I'll explain it to also the ones in the States, because they don't really have these. So it's like you have like this kind of bank codes that you use each time if you want to log into your online banking system or whatever. Like it's kind of this randomized code, or you have a list of codes that you can pick from when it tells you, okay, pick number 63, the code, and you have to have like this book of codes in order to open and log onto your bank. So this Blanka Zmigrod, apparently he, accused her of stealing it because she worked as a coat check or something, or like worked at this hotel that he was staying at. So he was like, okay, the only logical person that could have stolen this was her because it was in my jacket or whatever. And the Swedish police officer, so he ended up basically killing her by bicycling past her and then, I guess, attacking her. And so, he ended up killing her. So the second person he killed. And in this documentary, a Swedish police officer questioned him in 1993, and Ausonius appeared happy when the police officer told Ausonius about Zmigrod's Jewish background, and basically she had survived multiple concentration camps and stuff, and she was a Holocaust survivor, and so this kind of was a bit like he was happy that he or appeared to be happy that he killed someone of Jewish descent. So so Nazi motherfucker. Yeah. So this Zmigrod case was reopened recently by the German police, or the reason why he got found out that he was the killer, or Ausonius was a suspect in this case because how to phrase this. So basically, the case was reopened by the German police recently who suspected that Ausonius's, like, the shootings may have inspired a string of killings committed in the early 2000s by a neo-Nazi terror cell called the National Socialist Underground. And the killings were initially blamed on migrant gangs. So then when the police re-examined this evidence from this case, so they're like, okay, so it's this National Socialist Underground. Oh, no, it's migrants. No, it's this, whatever. When they re-examined the evidence, Ausonius' connection to Zmigrod came to light. Probably because checking altercations and whatever, because I guess he got into a fight with her. So maybe they did some good investigative work for this. And so they were able to connect him, and he initially denied it, but then the German were like, okay, you're definitely the person. So on the 21st of February 2018, he was found guilty and sentenced to life imprisonment in Germany. And prosecutors had charged him with stealing her handbag after killing her because he thought she had taken the electronic device that he used, to save the bank account numbers. And following this conviction, German prosecutors had to determine if his sentence would be served in Sweden or Germany. And of course, Ausonius would appeal this. But in January 2019, Ausonius was extradited back to Sweden to serve his sentence.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And of course, just the final few sentences, that Ausonius is believed to have been the first far-right lone wolf planning and committing his crimes alone. And Anders Breivik had been quoted saying, "Multiculturalism had created me," and Lasermannen in Sweden. So he literally, it's kind of uncertain whether he was referring to the Laserman 1 or Laserman 2, but yeah, so yeah. Yeah. And I think there was some other news too that he was even thinking that, or like the authorities were wondering, since he was so old now, that could he be released, or is he going to be kept in prison, or blah, 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 blah. So, yeah.
But he is still in prison today.
Yes, he is. Indeed. So that is John Ausonius, the first Laserman, or Laserman.
Wow.
Yes. Any questions?
Thank you. I have. Yeah, I don't know. No, too many.
Yeah.
Maybe just go ahead, Petra.
No, I'm still stuck with the police being so incompetent. Would have been interesting. I'm sure that there aren't so much material for that, but to like hear the same story from the police investigation viewpoint, like where they just like, another person killed. I wonder
the red
who it is.
laser sight appearing right before that they were shot. Interesting.
Let's have some more donuts.
Yeah.
It's weird that there were
some fika.
No.
Let's have fika. Kanelbulla.
We will be cancelled.
We don't have any listeners in Sweden.
And we won't after this.
No.
We never will. Yeah. Were there no eyewitnesses or anything? It's just, weird that he could do this for such a long time.
Yeah, because there were eyewitnesses. There was like actually near the end there, hey, there was a pretty good description of the guy. Yeah, I don't know.
And like, I mean, in the 90s, you already have some security cameras.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And with the sawed-off shotgun, you have to get quite close to the person. It's not like a sniper rifle.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So that's the part that I'm still questioning. Why the fuck did he do a sawed-off shotgun? I don't get it.
That also must be very loud.
Yes. And you only get a couple shots. Like, it's just stupid. Just fucking stupid. But I guess with the shotgun, it's probably easier because it's also used for hunting. So I'm thinking that
maybe that was
all he had. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I was just thinking that, we talked about how it came up during the trial that he has autism and maybe some other mental illness, personality disorder. And that, like, is that okay or not to take into consideration? I mean, I don't know. So I think it's still good to consider all of these and his upbringing and everything, just to kind of maybe like give it a little bit more context or understand it better. But it should never go to the point where we remove the responsibility
Yes.
from the person.
Yes. I
So
think
it can add something, but not like, oh, so there was nothing he could have done differently.
think in these regards, I think with the diagnoses that he has, I think they should be taken into account, of course, with the aspect of rehabilitation, of whether he can be rehabilitated. So is he able to see the error of his ways, or is the autism and the personality disorder, are those the things that limit him from understanding the, I guess, the weight of his decisions and that type of stuff? Like, I don't know. I'm not certain. Of course, that's what they're trying to make the case for. Yeah, people. Okay, autism. Then he doesn't know what he's doing, or something. That's kind of bullshit, in my opinion. That's fucking bullshit.
Course.
Yeah.
Or, well, I guess it depends on that. Yeah.
Because
where
you
they
can
are on
learn,
the spectrum.
like, you know, it was wrong. Like, he obviously knew it was wrong. So therefore, I think that he was in his right mind also for those things. Maybe his diagnoses kind of forced him to act upon these things in such a horrific manner, maybe. Like, he was fascinated with these things. He kind of like ruminated on them too much, and that's what caused him to finally act upon them or something. I think maybe that could be the reason why it led to the eventual ending that it did, but it's no excuse in the end. So
yeah, I was thinking that maybe the court here wasn't kind of like how you said it at that point. It didn't sound like the court was trying to give him an excuse, but rather the opposite. Like, okay, because he has these disorders, we doubt that he will become a good citizen.
Yes, exactly.
Which, like in this case, I understand it, but of course, this is also a slippery slope.
Yes.
Like if you start to diagnose people, and then because this person has this diagnosis, they are probably dangerous.
Yeah.
But here it's more like what
but
he
then
has
it also
done
goes to that
this far.
Yeah, but then it also goes to the fact that, okay, so if he has autism and he did this thing because of his autism, or he didn't understand why, then it also means that then people with autism would have like a free blanket statement. They weren't in their right minds because they're not capable, which is complete fucking bullshit anyway.
Or it could be said about any other mental illness. But
yeah.
I think, I don't know, we are kind of just speculating here because we don't know what it was that they actually discussed in the trial, or how, in what context was this brought up. And it's not like they said that, okay, he's not responsible, so he still went to prison and was sentenced.
Yeah, I think the question with this, which we have discussed previously too, is that, like, do you go to prison or like mental institution for the criminally insane or whatever they are officially called? But like, there are two different. Like, are you being treated because you have such a severe mental illness that it causes you being actually dangerous to people around you? Or
but then usually they
for punishment and rehabilitation.
But then there are certain things that they usually take into account, right? That, for example, are you trying to cover it up, or are you like, do you realize that you did something wrong? And like this guy, for example, he went to Germany, I guess.
Yes, he
to hide
fled
from the police.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think. Yeah.
So, and it also sounds like, I don't know, he was probably an intelligent person otherwise.
Yes, I think he was. Yeah.
So probably these mental issues contributed to, and like other things also, maybe some parts of his upbringing contributed to how he developed this, like, I don't know, distorted thinking pattern about the world. But it's not an excuse.
No.
Yeah.
Nope. Okay.
Okay, so we'll have a similar one then pretty soon,
from
right?
me eventually, so in a couple
when we get
times.
there.
Yes, in the future. So it's Victoria next time.
Oh yeah, true.
Do you have anything to say about your next
Oh
gig?
my god, why am I so unprepared again? No.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I don't know.
I'm guessing it'll be Hungarian or Romanian or somewhere in that region.
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Sounds
There
good.
is a case that I've been planning to talk about, but it's kind of a bigger one.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned it last time. I don't know if I should wait a bit or not. So I will maybe reevaluate and think if I should now bring that one or not. But yeah, it will be either me next time or a news tangent.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can say for sure.
No, we can't.
Okay. It will be something.
You'll hear our voices no matter what. Yes. Okay, cool. Well, thanks for listening. You can follow us on Instagram at Translation Merger Podcast. You can send us an email at translationmergerpodcast@gmail.com. What is something they should not send us, Petra? Yes, please do not. Even though we haven't gotten any DMs about them either, according to Victoria's comment a couple episodes ago about getting some DMs.
What was my comment?
I think you made it seem like people should send us dick pics on Instagram instead. But yeah, but that's not the case either.
Wait, let me check.
But yeah, thanks for listening. Like and subscribe to our podcast, and thanks for listening once again. Hei parolla.
Bye.